Hi, this is AnnHelen. Thank you for joining me in this tutorial. I will show you my typical drawing process using a photo reference I got from Pinterest, which I converted to black and white. First, I make sure there's enough space on my paper to fit in the whole image that I see on the left, because I'm drawing more than just the face. I block in the overall shapes and forms of the portrait, and now I'm using the Loomis method to get the proportions of the different facial features correct. Because the facial proportions of the person on the left is slightly different from that of the typical Loomis method facial proportions, I will adjust the facial proportions so that they match those of the photos more. I usually spend a lot more time in getting the facial proportions correctly if I'm using a reference photo, but due to the time constraints for this tutorial, I can guarantee that my drawing at the end of the tutorial will not have the same exact look as that of the person in the photo. And I suggest that you also have an expectation of realistic, achievable goal, especially if you're new to drawing faces or drawing in general, because even for very experienced professional artists and even portrait artists, achieving the likeness of a person in a photo or a live model would still require quite a bit of time. So I wouldn't set that as a goal for this tutorial. So what kind of goals are more achievable? The answer to that really depends on your background, training, and experience in drawing, and especially in drawing faces. If you have drawn faces before, for example, faces of your family members or friends, or from pictures from magazines or online sources, but you've never drawn a person with a face at this angle or with a hairstyle like this, then your goal could be, I want to draw a person with a face at 3/4 angle to the left side. Or I want to know how to shade the part of the cheek when the face is at this angle. Or I want to know how to draw the hair in a braid. On the other hand, if you're not new to drawing, but new to drawing faces, your goal could be learning about how to set the right facial proportions when the face is at 3/4 angle, or how to draw the eyes, nose, mouth, and maybe the ear at this angle. For all learners, it is not possible to learn everything you can at one point or in one sitting. So it's good to set just 1 or 2 or even up to 3 main goals for each time you watch this tutorial. Take some notes and practice what you've learned and rewatch the tutorial. And practice what you learned over and over again, because drawing is an acquired skill and you won't learn it until you actually do it. So I hope that gives you a good idea on how to set a realistic goal for yourself and how to use this tutorial to achieve that goal.